Hey, what's going on, Panda fam? It's me and your boy Grant back again here with a little bit of the Picard review series. Let me get this all adjusted. There we go. You've got the logo on your camera, just so you know, the Tambourine Panda Gaming logo. So you're special today, buddy. You're
Oh
special.
God.
Welcome in, Panda fam, to the episode 7 review. Episode 7.
Oh, we're side by side this time.
Yeah, we're side by side, buddy. I figured we'd go.
We're not kitty corner.
We're not kitty corner this time. You're a little stretchy. I had to kind of fit you a little bit here in the square, but
It's okay.
needless to say, we are here for you, Panda fam. We are back with the episode 7. Nepenthe is the name of this episode, the Nepenthe review. Greg, thank you for the like on the stream. I very much appreciate that. So yeah, lots of stuff happening in episode 5 and 6. This almost felt kind of like a deep breath after all the excitement of the last episode. And we'll just get right into it. Obviously, the last episode ended with Soji busting out of the cube after Narek kind of mind manipulated her into giving him the information that he wanted regarding the synth homeworld. So now
she kind of Sephiroth in the black materia cloud there.
Oh yeah, nice Final Fantasy VII reference there.
Because
Yeah.
of the demo.
Yeah, see what you did there. See what you did. Hey, thanks for the follow. It's 65 days plus the already 60 some odd days on your other account. You're over that 120 mark, man. I'm pretty sure at this point. So big congrats to you, Greg. And the share on the stream. Thank you for that. So anyway, we're basically left with, that episode. They end up beaming out of the Queen cell in the Borg cube. Hugh and Elnor stay behind, and we obviously get the end of that episode, with Elnor saying, please, my friends, choose not to die or whatever.
Choose to live.
Choose to live. Yeah,
I think that's part of the. Is it Jatvaj?
It may be some. Yeah, maybe.
I think that's what he says when that's what they have to say before they fight.
Quat Malat or whatever it is, Quat Malat. Yeah.
Jatvaj is the.
Those are like the deep, Tal Shiar, the inception within an inception.
Deep state Tal Shiar.
Deep state Tal Shiar. So, anyway, so as far as and I'll just start with this. Up to this point, the series has been, pretty good. I would say, it hasn't been without its stumbles and pitfalls. Obviously. But I feel like the show has been driven forward in a very logical sort of way.
It's good. People forget there were some fucking horseshit episodes of Next Generation, and I mean a lot of them.
Namely in the first and second seasons too, if I'm not mistaken.
There were some bad ones later on, like Sub Rosa. Like they're just like Beverly's just banging Scottish ghosts. Like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly.
There's just weird ass episodes throughout. There's that late one with Troy too, where she's like spends the whole episode like floating in space in a dream, going like, "Where are you?"
Oh man,
there's some bad episodes. So and the thing is that this is serialized, so they're telling one story over 10 episodes.
Can you not, Daniela? Can you not see him right now? He should be there.
Oh no, she could see me.
Oh, you're just the beard's gone. The beard's
I was shaving.
Oh my god,
I
forgot to even mention, man. Like everybody's been commenting on your beard about like over the last few weeks, and it's gone, man.
I was trying to I was like really hot. I was in like this meeting space in work. And I go home at lunch to take care of the dogs, and like in the meeting, it was just like was that day that it was like 58, and I was like,
okay.
Oh my god. And then when I got home, I went to go trim it, but so I've got this like eye razor thing, and so like I went to I put it on like the longest setting, and I was just gonna like trim it down and keep it. But on the long, because the beard was so long, the clippers weren't working with the guard on. So I took the guard off, and I was gonna do it like the barber with the comb,
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that before, but again, never with the beard that long. And I just kind of slipped, and I was like, all right, well, I guess it's coming off now because it took this big chunk off.
Oh
no!
That
was more than I wanted to, but it'll be. It'll be back in like a week.
No. You should see the emoji you're getting in the chats, man, from her. Christian, thank you for the like. Scott, thank you for the share. She's just giving you the rolly eyes, like.
Yeah, I know. I've got it up here so I can see that.
How
the
could you do
comments.
that? How could you do that? But anyway, man, I think you look good with or without the beard, man. I mean,
Thanks. I appreciate it. No, it'll be back in like 2 days.
I know.
By the next podcast, it'll be back
I
to
know
form.
you're like frickin' yeah, you're like Woodsman Joe out there. I don't even know. Frickin'
we're inventing characters now.
Sure. You're like Paul Bunyan. There, you happy with that? Like frickin' growing beards and chopping
people might get.
Chopping trees and growing beards, man. All right. So anyway, back to the episode. John, thank you for the like on the stream, by the way, brother. I appreciate that very much. So we left off with the
Frank Pope popping in and watching. What's up, Frank Pope?
Holy shit! What's up, Frank? Good to see you, buddy. So we end off the last episode with Eleanor with the saying and all that stuff. And both you and I kind of talked about this, especially in regards to like the Girardi thing with Maddox, the previous, like we both agreed that there's some explaining to do here. Albeit not in the last episode, because last episode, in my opinion, is the best and is still the best episode of this series. You know, especially after watching this episode, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to get right into, you know, I want to get back into this episode specifically, and the theme of flashbacks and dreams has been prevalent throughout this entire series to start off an episode. Paradox, thank you for the like on the stream, by the way. And this episode starts off no different. However, we do get a flashback that happens really, really recently. In fact,
this is our most recent flashback by far.
By far. In fact, it happens in this season. The scene that's in question to begin this episode, which is we flash back to the meeting, I think from episode 1 or 2.
2, I believe.
It's like right at the beginning of 2, I think, which is also an interesting juxtaposition between that episode and this episode. It's almost like we're finally getting the completed, explained conversation between Girardi.
We saw a snippet, and now we get the whole thing.
Girardi and Commodore O, and I called it, man. I called it, and I'm gonna toot my own horn on this. I said, listen, because we know at this point that Girardi's murdered Maddox, and Maddox is, for those of you who have not tuned in through this entire series, which shame on you, go watch the episodes on YouTube,
and then come back and watch all these podcasts. You can find them on YouTube.
Yeah, you can find them on YouTube. And you can find them on my videos on Facebook. They're better quality on Facebook. Yeah, they're better quality on Facebook because Facebook won't let me download in high definition for whatever reason, which, shit, that reminds me I forgot to record this one too. So we'll just have to go with it again until next week. So we'll see. By next week, I should have my new SSD installed as well too. So I'll have more space and I won't have to worry about it. But anyway, I digress. So I called it. I said we got an extended scene between Commodore O-Face and Girardi that happened back in episode 2 when she was asking her about Picard. This is O-Face to Girardi now, and talking about Picard's conversation with her regarding the synths and Maddox and all this other stuff. And as you guys know, Girardi was the one who killed Maddox at the end of episode 5. And Maddox is the guy who was kind of instrumental in the whole like developing synth technology and was trying to kind of go off grid after the whole synth ban and all this stuff, and nobody's been able to find him except they found him in Free Cloud in episode 5. And Maddox, we find out that Maddox and Girardi have an intimate relationship. So I mean, but and here's the thing, and we'll get to this too. I want everybody to keep this in mind. Like during that part in episode 5, she murders Maddox. Like obviously it gets to her a little bit, but like she murders him at, no harder than ordering a freaking pizza. It seems like, man, like it seems like she's got no qualms about doing this. And she makes mention about, well, if you knew what I knew or saw what I saw, like I wish I hadn't seen what they showed me. And we finally get what she means by all of this. And the flashback scene is her and O-Face, and what happens is Commodore O ends up Vulcan mind melding with her to kind of show her like what'll happen. My mind to your mind. and shows her what'll happen if the synths, like if synths should ever rise again, or if synths should take over, or should there ever be synths. Like, she shows her some crazy like apocalyptic images and all this other stuff. A couple of those images are actually previews from the next episode, if you remember. And this is, we'll start the slideshow here too. So this is the scene between Jurati and O that we get. And again, it's just kind of the completion of that meeting with Jurati from episode 2. And after the mind meld, Jurati's clearly shook. Like, she leans over to the side and she vomits. Like, she starts crying and everything. She's like, "What do you need me to do?" And then Commodore O gives her this tracker, and she's like, "Well, we need you to go with them, basically. We need you to eat this tracker. Make sure you chew on it and eat it.
Give it a little chew.
Give it a little chew." And so we can track you, essentially. And then Commodore O, the next thing she says is that it will require great sacrifice. And while she doesn't say that Maddox is the one that needs to die, and I'm guessing that she needs to somehow kill the synth too, like somehow like take out the synth, because we'll get to why I think that later on in this episode review. But it's very heavily implied that Maddox, her murdering Maddox, is what she's talking about here. So
there's also some of the bullshit in the writing involved in that whole saga as well. Yeah,
I would agree. So this is a quick picture of the mind meld, where she's my mind to your mind, and shows her all these apocalyptic images. A quick snapshot of the tracker that she asked her to eat and ingest, which this tracker in this episode is going to be a point of contention for both you and I. We talked about pre-stream here, and we'll explain why that is a little bit later. So after this particular scene, we go back to the ship. Rios and Rafi and Jurati are on, because remember, Elnor has beamed into the cube to try and help Picard get out, and Picard and Soji are getting zipped to Nepenthe right now. So these guys are stuck in a tractor beam that the Borg cube has now got them held in.
Yeah, the Romulans are controlling the cube and holding them in the tractor beam.
Yes. So they're trying to get the hell out of there, and I caught this little snippet. I don't know if I caught a screenshot of it. I don't think I did. But where Rafi is, like, Rios is asking her to hack into the whatever, I don't know, the shipway something or other, and Rios is like,
I'm making stuff up.
I'm trying. I'm trying, and she zooms in on this weird image of like triple circles that are interlocked, and I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but it seemed curious. Like, she says that the language is all in hullabaloo Borg symbols and all this stuff, so I wonder if that's just the part of the language, or if that picture she pulled up has deeper meaning. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure. So, and while this is happening, Jurati's like screaming at Rafi, saying like, "Well, they just want her, referring to Soji. Like, I just want to go the fuck home." Like, she actually says, like, she just wants to get the fuck home.
Yep.
Which was weird for me, seeing in a Star Trek episode. I was like, whoa, Jurati dropping the big old F-bombs. Like, we discussed in the last episode, you and I, how we think Jurati's got some real psychological issues, and that's further reinforced.
Yeah, for sure.
Further reinforced as we go along through this episode. You know, at the outset, like, she's gung-ho about this. She wants to meet the synth. And now, as they get closer and closer to finding them, she's like, "No, I don't want to do it, man." Like,
yeah, but like, all right, so we can bring this up now. Why is she willing to go as far as acing the love of her life so far, Bruce Maddox? She's got no problem killing him, but when it comes to like hunting down the synth that she knows is going to destroy all of humankind, according to what she actually believes, now she gets cold feet.
Right. I don't know.
Make no sense.
It doesn't make any. Suffice to say that she might be dealing with a lot of stuff in her head, and like she's freaking the hell out. I don't know, but that, like, again,
that's literally the only plausible answer. That's all we've got.
Yeah,
that's all we can go with.
Hey, Jack, thanks for the like on the stream. Blam fam in the building. What's up, buddy? How you doing tonight, man? And I mean, yeah, she's clearly got mental issues. I mean, after she murders Maddox in cold blood, she then, the next episode right after that, proceeds to hook up with Rios.
She like walks out with like blood on her hands and smears it on Rios' chest and licks it off. And Rios is like, "Oh yeah, baby, give me some of that."
That doesn't happen exactly, but I mean, it may as well have, because like, she murders Maddox and then she busts out and she's all like, "Hey, baby, you want to have some hot, wild space sex with me? Let me get over this, me murdering my lover." Like, what? You're. I gotta give this actress Alison Pill. She's, if you guys don't know who she is, she's in the Newsroom and she's in other things as well. Mainly, I know. Scott Pilgrim. She's in the Newsroom. She's the drummer in Scott Pilgrim, the angsty drummer that's all pissy with him. But she's a very good actress, and she plays the like, "Ha, I'm a science nerd. Like, let me go to space. This will be fun." Like, and through the first 4 episodes, and like, as soon as they find Maddox, it's just like, boom, 180 flip. Like, you are a psycho bitch. Like, what is going on here? What? You murder your lover in cold blood. You then proceed to hook up with the ship's captain, like, presumably like 5 minutes later. Like, and now in this episode, like, she's clearly, I think...
Yeah, now the chicken's just coming home to roost in her brain meats.
I didn't get a chance to actually vocalize this to you before we started this, but she's got like a Lady Macbeth syndrome thing going on, man. Like, the blood won't, damn spot. Like, the blood won't wash off. And I think that's what she's going through right now in her head.
Could be.
And that's
I'll buy that.
That's really the only way that we can justify the writing in regards to her right now. Like, that's in my...
If Shakespeare can get away with it, I'll forgive Alex Kurtzman.
But I mean, there's there's mythology and lore behind the Lady Macbeth thing, and like all this other stuff.
I really dig that connection now. It changed my perspective on shit.
But she's got kind of a little bit of a Lady Macbeth syndrome, and again, that's really the only way that we can explain like what exactly she does, because and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it at the end of this review, because that's sort of where it comes to a head. You know, when we were talking about what happens with her character, and particularly as we go through the episode. And we'll talk about your point, and then we can kind of go back and rehash the Lady Macbeth thing and see if it actually does reconcile the decisions that she makes later. A little tease for you there, Panda Fam, because he, like, to the two of us at the outset, it seems like very bad writing. We'll just say that much. So anyway, that's pretty much what happens on the ship. And then we go back right into the Borg cube, and the crazy... I guess people have been referring to her as Cersei Lannister and Narek as Jaime Lannister because of their weird... I can totally buy that, because they got this weird-ass brother-sister vibe thing going on.
Yeah, and they're both evil. And we go back to the Borg cube, which we saw in last week's preview episode, her interrogating Hugh, and where's Picard? We know you helped him, and so, like, the synth get off the Borg cube. Where did you send them? And this, you know what? I'll let you actually speak to this scene, because this was, for you, this is where your biggest point, one of your first points of contention with the episode, where you actually made me aware of it. What's up, Sandy? Thanks for the like, by the way. The scene is like, they are just acing the shit out of X-Borg with disruptors, Romulan disruptors. They're shooting the piss out of them.
Right.
And these are presumably Hugh's friends.
Now,
and they're like,
let me just
they go?
Real quick interject and set the scene, because the scene I'm showing just shows her pointing a disruptor at Hugh, and in reality there's like I think there's 4 X-Borgs that the Romulans are holding like behind him, or in front of him, behind her possibly. I can't remember how it's set in the scene, but It's not just Hugh that's in the scene. So picture like 4 XBs being held basically at gunpoint while she's interrogating. Sorry, I just wanted to set
No, that's good.
kind of how
And
the
yeah,
scene
so the
was set
XPs
up.
are there. Just Hugh, not Elnor, right?
Yeah, it's just Hugh.
Yeah, just Hugh, not Elnor.
Elnor's zipping around the Borg cube somewhere at this point. That's all we
Yeah,
know.
he's like in hiding. So,
Which I want to say too, that kind of disappointed me that we didn't get to see the fruition of the end of that last episode.
well, let's assume that like Elnor just takes them all out.
Right. Well, she even says it in this scene too. Like, oh, I'll ask you that question later. How the hell did 4 Romulans guards get wiped out? But anyway, go. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, buddy.
No, you're fine. So, like, at this point, she's asking questions, and Hugh is not giving any answers, and she is just annihilating these XBs that are Hugh's friends. Right?
Yeah.
Just crushing them to pieces. And so Hugh is like watching his friends die and still keeping Picard's secret. He's being a good dude about it.
Hey, what's up? Mason with the 248 followage in the chat. Big flex, buddy. What's up?
And she's like, oh, I can't kill you because you're a Federation citizen in that damn treaty. Like that has ever stopped the Jatvaj before. The Jatvaj doesn't give a fuck about treaties. They don't care one iota. They tried earlier this season to go and take out Picard in his villa. The Jatvaj. He's clearly a Federation citizen. They didn't give a shit about it then.
They killed the sister out in public, like
yeah, in public. They like she's a Federation citizen as far as like all the paperwork is concerned.
Now,
and then they were able to scrub the videos. They don't care. They don't care at all.
What I will say to that though, and it doesn't explain or justify her using or invoking this treaty, but
what's up, Kevin Seckler?
I will say, Mason, thank you for the double share, by the way. I will say this: it was an admitted mistake how they went after Picard and Dodge. Like she came back, but it doesn't negate the fact that was the plan, like to kind of assassinate them to begin with. Like you said,
right.
they don't really care.
Yeah, they don't care. Jatvaj nor the Tal Shiar would care about the treaty because they would do it and cover it up.
Sure.
And make it look like they can make it look like an accident. It's real easy.
Which is what they did with Dodge anyway.
They could just disappear them.
Right. Exactly.
And then nobody's gonna say anything anyway. So the line about the treaty didn't need to be said.
Right. It's
there could have been some sort of like, I'll deal with you later, and they let him escape or whatever. Elnor busts him out or what have you. They could have gone about that differently.
Totally.
Because later on, we're going to revisit that line, and it kind of, rather than... So the reason why she lets Hugh go is so she can track him to figure out where Picard went and, what happened and whatnot, and, like, hopefully he talks. I mean, the cube is not exactly a giant place, so he's easy to follow around.
Right.
And even if he leaves the cube, that could be beneficial as well. So here's what we've got. We've got a shitty writing faux pas where she mentions a treaty and it's not congruent with any of the actions of the Jatvaj or what we've seen so far this season, then that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, this season, like...
Why she lets him go makes sense, but what she says makes zero sense.
It doesn't, and like you said, I mean, the way that you put it like that, too, it's like, yeah... The Jatvaj don't give a shit, man. Like, there's no reason to invoke some silly ass treaty. Like, you've been running around pretty much out in the open trying to murder people this entire season. Like,
for their entire existence.
Exactly? That's what I meant to say earlier. Is
like their name was only said in whispers before.
Not just this season, but like their entire existence, man.
This isn't the Romulan Star Empire.
Right.
This isn't even the Tal Shiar. This is the Jatvaj. Like, this is like layers deep. They don't care. Exactly.
So, I mean, as far as that scene is concerned, I mean, it's like you said,
a powerful scene, and it gets ruined.
It gets ruined by like this one line. Oh, your stupid Federation and their treaty. It's like
makes you a Federation citizen, which means you can't be touched.
You can't be touched. But what about all these other XBs then too? Like you mentioned before the podcast.
Are they not Federation citizens?
Are they not Federation citizens?
I don't know. Maybe the Federation doesn't want them. I mean, they are in Romulan space.
Perhaps
Romulan citizens. I don't know.
Perhaps they were freshly resuscitated XBs, or reclaimed,
because the
or
cube is owned by the Romulans, I would venture to guess that they're technically Romulan citizens, and the Romulan Star Empire can do with them as they want.
fair enough.
That'd be my guess.
Fair enough.
I'll forgive that.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess that makes sense, the fact that it's under Romulan jurisdiction. Hey, Josh, thank you for the like and the double share on the stream, buddy. I appreciate it. What's up, Jonathan? Same spelling. It's my same spelling name, brother, in the chat right now. Johnathon. Same spelling. Fantastic. Lovely. So, as Grant said there, as you said, she basically murders all the XBs in the scene, and she lets Hugh go because of the treaty, which we'll come back to soon. And she checks in with her brother Narek, and she's like, yo, are you on your way? And he's like, yep, tracker's in place, ready to go. We're getting the hell off the Borg cube. I gotta go find Soji. So at that point, Rizzo, the girl or the lady, she releases Rafi and Rios and Girardi's ship, and they zip on out of there.
Yeah. And there's a line here too where it's like, oh, nice job, Rafi. Is like, well, I didn't do anything. They just let us go. It's like, all right, well, I guess we'll go exactly where we're supposed to go. Then we're clearly not being tracked.
Well, and Rafi does say, she's like, this is obviously there's something up here, but like I think at this point, like, yeah, that's kind of a contentious thing too, because like I can't reconcile it in my head. Like, why would you not stop to do something at that point? What's up, Panda and Grant? How's it going, Dennis? Thank you for the like, the share. We got Maddox with the like and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shares. Wait, 4
Bruce
shares?
Maddox?
Not Bruce Maddox. Maddox Silver.
Oh.
Maddox Silver. He's not Bruce Maddox. So anyway,
liking from beyond the grave.
I mean, that's a very good point that you bring up there too. Like, I didn't even think about that going through the episode. It's just like, yep, I guess we'll just go where we need to go now and assume nothing bad is going to happen and be really surprised when somebody is tracking us 5 minutes later in this episode, which we'll get to. Again, like I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast, like episode 6 for me still holds up as the best episode in the season, because like this episode, I would say this episode, as far as the writing is concerned, is probably some of the worst of the season.
No question.
I would have to say. You know, like I said, it went through its stumble. It went, Yos! Brian Yossi. What's up, Brian Yossi? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man. But you know, the early part of the season had its stumbles and bumbles, and it had to have a lot of exposition. It had to feed you a lot of information.
Stumbles and bumbles because the writing was consistent. They had to level set and world build and do all those things. So I'm fine with it.
Right. I mean, if you're talking, I might have food here. Go ahead, do your thing. I'll keep talking as I do. The early part of the season, I mean, kept, like you said, it kept with consistency with the writing and everything. And it was just, I guess, slow is a better word. Like the first episode was pretty action packed. The second, third, and part of the fourth episode, I would say, second, third, and fourth episode were slower because they were filled with exposition. And then the fifth and the sixth episode were probably the best 2 episodes in the season. Now, while we get this breath in the 7th episode after these action-packed 5th and 6th episodes, like it's also filled with some of the worst writing in the season. As I just said, like when they get released from the tractor beam, they're just like, all right, peace out. We're gonna go where we need to go. And I mean, Rafi does make mention. She's like, something's not right here. This is a trick. And they're just like, well, F it. We're gonna go anyway. Like,
yep.
Yeah. Who even cares? So, yeah. Yeah, we get some more scenes of Rizzo torturing Hugh there. And then after Rafi and Rios and them are released, we go back to a scene, or we get our first glimpse of the planet Nepenthe, where Picard and Soji zip to at the end of the last episode, and they're beamed onto the surface by the Queen Cell teleporter or whatever, and immediately are met with someone with a bow and an arrow aimed right at them. And so this is a picture of them right after they beam in, pretty much. And we find out that the person who is holding the bow and arrow is not hostile at all. In fact, in fact, Picard asks the person, they're like, are we in danger? Because Soji's like, I thought you said this was a safe place. So Picard asked the person, they're like, oh, are we in danger, Kestra? And so you find out that this person, Picard knows this person right off a rip. This person's name is Kestra, and it's obviously the daughter of somebody because he asks to be taken to her mom and dad. So there's this scene of Picard and Soji and Kestra, this little girl who looks like she looks like one of the kids from Hook, man. Like she looks like one of the wild children or the lost boys from the movie Hook, with like all of her like crazy tribal looking stuff on and whatnot. But anyway, she ends up leading them back to her mom and dad's place, and talking to Soji. And my guess is like the relationship there is because she's a young kid, Soji is a younger woman, and for reasons that I'll get into a little bit later as we discuss the episode too. So they start talking one-on-one, and they make mention of Commander Data and how she's Data's daughter. And right away, Kestra turns to her and says, oh my God, you're an android. And at this, Soji basically is like, what? Like, yeah. Excuse me? So Picard, obviously sensing the immediate like trauma here, steps in and he's like, listen, like, you can trust me. Like, I tried to help your sister. I'm sorry, but your sister is in fact dead. Like, just laying everything on her. Like, she basically just got, like, she was just threatened with death. Like, she almost got killed in the last episode. Basically activates herself, breaks out, like, finds out she can, like, bend steel. Like, zips out of there with this old dude she's never seen in her life. Then beams to this planet, is immediately, like, held up at bow and arrow, and then finds out, like, is told that she's an android, essentially. Like, all within the span of seemingly, like, hours. So yeah. You've got to imagine that what she's going through right now is pretty traumatizing. And I think we get confirmation of that a little bit later in this episode with an interaction that we have that I'll save for later in the podcast here. But anyway, so they talk on the road, and this is where Soji hears, that she, for the first time, that she's an android. Picard confirming.
There's one more bullshit moment, but I'll get there in a minute. I had forgotten.
For sure. For sure. And Picard confirming that her sister's dead, and then we finally get, and this is the conflict where Picard is just a quick picture of Picard trying to calm her down a little bit after she finds out, and we get our first. We end up getting our first pretty much introduction, minus the dream sequence in the very first episode, to Counselor Troy. First legacy character. I guess 7 of 9 you can consider a legacy character too.
First next-gen legacy character.
First next generation legacy character. Let me be specific when I say that. Mm-hmm. In Counselor Troy, and she walks out of her house and she's got her gardening gloves on, and right away when you see this, for me, and I'll always, through 7 episodes, I'm always going to hold this as I guess a pillar of this series, is for the cinematography is awesome and the soundtrack is awesome. And
the score is absolutely perfect.
We get a beautiful pan shot of the house, and then it zooms in and you see Counselor Troy walk out to her backyard, and you can just clearly get the sense that like that the 3 of them specifically have definitely moved on in their lives. I mean, maybe not Picard now so much anymore, now that he's got Soji, but specifically with Troy and Riker. And I guess I just kind of let the cat out of the bag for the second legacy character, but you would have found out in like a minute anyway.
But it's clear that also they're together. So
it's clear that they're also together. I mean, there's a daughter, there's Counselor Troy. Last we really, like, obviously there was that Worf and Riker kind of and Troy love triangle thing going on.
Menage a Troy, if you will.
Menage a Troy, if you will, yes.
Which was actually the name of an episode, I believe.
Anyone from the Next Generation in the show, or just Picard? Well, I think
we just literally talked about it right now.
answered that question for you, Dennis. We've got Counselor Troy. We've seen Data, but only in a dream sequence in the first episode. And we've seen 7 of 9 at this point, but she's not the Next Generation. She's obviously, what was it? Voyager, thank you. But I'd still consider her a legacy character, because Voyager came out right after the Next Generation, or while it was still airing, I think.
I think it just missed it.
Right, but there
was an overlap, but DS9 overlapped with Next Gen, and then DS9 overlapped with Voyager, but there was no Next Gen Voyager overlap.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, we get Counselor Troy, and she, we get the nice warm embrace picture here of the two of them, and she's obviously just a good heart tugging moment between the Next Generation characters. And for TNG fans, this every and I will say, for the lack of good writing in this show, they at least chose the right setting, in my opinion, by focusing more so on these 3 characters, giving people those TNG nuggets, as we'll get to a little bit later in the podcast. But if you wanted to add something to that, I feel like I'm talking. I'm sorry.
I also like that they waited until episode 7 to do that. Mm-hmm. They had a Voyager character in episode 5, but they made sure that the show was standing on its own 2 feet before they brought in legacy characters.
Right, exactly. I would agree with that. Like, these legacy characters are not there to move the plot along by any means. Like, they're there. Well, yes and no. Like, this was part of like Picard's like impulse, like safe place to go to find like refuge. But at the same time, like, it's also a nice reunion between these 3 characters. There's nothing being driven by Riker or Troy here at this. It's just a nice reunion moment for the 3 of them, really, and a very, like I said,
it could have been with anybody.
Yeah, it could have been, really.
It could have been Geordi. It could have been Crusher, wherever the hell she is. She's like the only one I believe we haven't had mentioned yet.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, what's up, Scotty?
As to what's going on with her.
Thank you for the like on the stream, buddy. And why what? You were...
And like why we haven't heard from her yet.
Yeah.
And because her and Picard were the closest out of all of them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And had a longer history than everybody. They went all the way back to the Stargazer, so I don't know.
That is a very good point. Yes. I'm not quite sure why, but she was at premieres and stuff. I don't know why she would.
Yeah. They were. I mean, who was Geordi? And then Riker and Troy for sure. But I don't know who else beyond that.
Crusher was there too.
Right. Yeah, but those 3. But I don't know if anybody else was.
Maybe Spiner was there too.
I don't think so.
Data. I don't know that he was actually there. Anyway. I still think one of the best untold love stories in Star Trek are the feelings that you can clearly see between Picard and Dr. Crusher, right? Like, that would be a really cool.
But it's told early.
Yeah, it would be a really cool.
And late. Yeah, so like in the second episode, The Naked Now, that's the one with where like Crusher's trying to hook up with him.
Oh.
And she like walks up, she like unzips, and he's like, "I'm no doctor." And then she leaves, and he's all like,
"The line must be drawn here."
No further.
No further.
I want to say, don't they end up like mecking out in Nemesis?
I think so.
In Insurrection, he was like trying to bang that chick on the planet.
I think so. Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
But I think in Nemesis, they end up finally expressing their feelings for one another.
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool like series to explore. Like, if they could somehow do a Stargazer series, that'd be pretty dope. I think Picard's early days. Go
back in time. You got to recast that though.
Yeah,
that would like.
They would so over the fact that Patrick Stewart wouldn't be able to play younger himself, obviously at this point. Right. But anyway, so back to this episode. This is just a great reunion scene, and then we get the scene of Riker in the kitchen whipping up a pizza, and his daughter yells at him, and she's like, "Jean-Luc Picard's here," and he's like literally like does the equivalent of like the mic the record scratch. He's like, "Music, stop." He's like, "Wait, say that again." And he like looks out the window and Picard's in the house and he's like, "Hello, Will," and you get a nice warm embrace between the two of them. Never mind that Riker throws a bunch of dusty flour on the back of Picard's.
I don't think Picard cares.
I don't think he does either. It was just a funny thing I saw. I was like, oh, you got a little flour on the back here. You got a little dust on the back.
Makes it a little real.
It really does. Like, you could even see like the poofing of the flour and everything. Like, it was, again, these are just very good scenes. The parts that were here in this episode were very, very good. And we kind of mentioned that before the podcast as well, too. You and I talked about it, where everything in this part of, like, centered around Nepenthe in this episode was good. Everything outside of that seemed very rushed and very poorly explained or written or whatever you want to call it. It just, and you said it too a couple of episodes ago when Maddox got off, to you're like, well, we got a lot of explaining to do here, and they really haven't done a good job of it.
No, it's been bad. I mean, the most explaining that we got was the flashback to start this episode.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The whole Commodore O thing. And that doesn't really explain like what's going on in this character's head, or why exactly she went through with this, or why she does what she does throughout this episode. Like, other than to say she's, like I said, Lady Macbeth, man. Like, she's just haunted by the fact that she killed her lover. But like also seems just like, how do I put this? She seems like, here, I'll make another Final Fantasy VII reference. She seems like any one of the other clones that are like going to the Northern Crater, like, reunion, I have to go kill, like
Sephiroth.
Like, after a mind meld, you're gonna tell me that she so blindly believes like what's gonna happen should synths come back into the world.
Mind melds are
like,
powerful, but
I get it, but I mean, yeah, I guess I can let that go in the fact that like a mind meld is so freaking powerful that it makes you feel, I guess it would make you feel what the other person's feeling emotionally. If
was scared, she'd be scared too.
Right, exactly. Which I then guess makes sense. But still, none of the other shit makes sense, which we'll get to. No. Anyway, so we basically, this whole time we get some really good interactions with Riker's daughter Kestra and Soji. I almost found it, I was trying to put my finger on exactly what the purpose of those scenes served, and for me I think it's to ground Soji after all this shit.
That's exactly what it was. Soji just got rockin' news, and she needs to be able to function and move forward as a decent character and start. She also needs a reason to trust Picard, and that's what's provided in these scenes. Sure.
But I mean, with Kestra specifically, like, and I think you hit the nail on the head there too. To make her feel grounded after everything happened. So we get some real good scenes with her and Kestra, Riker and Troy's daughter. And they're talking about the Enterprise and how Picard was the best captain ever, and how
best
captain ever. Yo, what's up, Jeff? Good to see you, homie. Thank you for dropping on in and saying hey yo. We are here live with me and Grant doing our episode 7 Picard review. Welcome in, Panda fam. Anyway, number 1. We see number 1 finally in number 7. That's what happens. Holy hell, he shaved. Yes. Well, we won't tell you the long story again. Suffice to say that he slipped while he was trimming his beard and decided that the whole thing had to go. But it'll be back next week.
It'll be back by the next podcast.
By the time he's sitting next to me here again, it'll be full and burly and ready for admiring again. So don't you fret none, my friend. Don't you fret none. Anyway, thank you for coming on in. Hey, what's up, Brian? Thank you for the like on the stream. So we get a scene between Soji and Kestra talking about Data and Picard, and Kestra's asking do you have mucus? Do you have blood? Blah, blah, blah.
Data didn't have mucus.
Right. Data didn't have mucus. They didn't have, like, why would they do that? Like, why would they make it's really weird. 5-day pirate beard? Hell yeah. Oh yeah. That's how it goes with him, man. I'm telling you. And Soji kind of starts to lose it a little bit, and Kestra kind of makes a little joke, and you're cool, I admire you. Oh, because I'm, I've got mucus and whatever. And she's like, no, man, because you're 3 years old. I can actually boss over you. Which is interesting to think about. Like, if you think about like just how infantile Data was, like through the first couple of seasons as he was learning, like he's brilliant.
The funny thing is, Data was not 3 years old. Data was like in his 20s at that point.
Right, but what I'm saying by that is like Soji's very complex for only being an android that's been around for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like that's, I'm either a testament to Soong or Data or Maddox or whoever it was who actually created her, which we don't have confirmation on yet. Like, we don't
Data,
know.
You didn't have to. What do you mean we don't have confirmation?
We don't know if it was Maddox or Soong.
We do know, because he's like, what about Taj and Soji? Like, he knew it was him, and he said he graded them and then sent them to the places to find out the truth about the synths.
Oh, that's right. At the end of the 4th episode. Yeah, that's
like
right.
The one
that was his deathbed speech right there, and that's probably why Jurati ended up going through with. Well, part of the reason why she went through this, because like, okay,
it was Maddox and whatever.
Yeah, okay, so I guess we do have confirmation. My bad, Panda Fam. My bad. So yeah, we get that scene, and we get a scene where, and you and I had to talk about this, or I at least needed clarification from you before we started this, about Troy's son Thad, which we don't.
Yeah, it was Riker and Troy's son.
Yeah, Riker and Troy's son. That's what we know.
Post Nemesis, so this is part of the world building. It's part of the exposition.
Right.
I think they said he would have been like 17 or 18.
18.
And it's been 20 years since we last checked in with our crew here.
Right, so what happened a couple
fits in with the timeline, and that's fine.
It would have happened a couple years after, Nemesis or whatever.
Became a boy. He didn't have a home world because he was on the ship with Riker and Troy, because Riker was the captain of the Titan at the time.
Right.
And so because he didn't have a home world, he like invented one, and invented like all these like 12 languages, and like was like a real creative kid. And then got sick, and there was a cure, but because of the ban on synths, you needed like a positronic brain in order for this cure to work. So there were no positronic brains available, and this kid got killed as a result.
Right. Which we all find out. Soji and Troy end up talking a little bit after the Picard and Troy scene that we have after this that I'm showing you here.
Did I jump the gun here?
No, I mean, it all ties in, and it all comes up at some point here very, very soon. So, but she's in his room, and they're talking about Thad, which is the son that died, and I noticed this too throughout the episode. Like, I don't know if it means anything, or they're just it's symbolic of the change that Troy and Riker have gone through. They're together. They have kids. They're older now. They want safety for their family or what have you, which is part of the reason they moved. They're where they are. So yeah, I mean, she mentions to Picard, "Hey, Steven, thank you for the like on the stream." She mentions to him, she's like, we got this. Like, it's so good to see you. Like, we got this, but it's like, it would be really bad if we lost our other kid. Like, very, like, and Picard picks up on this too. He's like, this is why I'm trying to get the hell out of here, like, as fast as I can.
And it validates what he said in the second episode when the other Romulan that's living with him, the dude, is like,
talks to him about the crew,
like,
the old crew.
Like Riker, Troy, Geordi, like, contact him. And he's like, nope, they're way too loyal. I need somebody that hates me.
Exactly. And this is what they're saying. Like, they, like, it's a clear conflict for Troy and Riker, because they have a family now and they don't want to put their family in danger, but at the same time, this is Jean-Luc freaking Picard, and like you said, they're loyal. So, like I said, again, it's just another testament to the fact that the stuff in this, the stuff that takes place in these scenes on Nepenthe is like way better written than the stuff that takes place anywhere else in this episode. And again, we'll continue to get through this stuff as we go here. So after this exchange, we go back to the Rios and Rafi and Jurati conundrum, where they've now figured out that they're being tailed. by somebody. And Rios, in one of the most brilliant moves since listing lazily to the left, throws it into warp drive for all of 0.1 seconds and then stops. And he's like, oh, the guy will just shoot right over me, man.
Which he stole from Top Gun.
Now,
we're gonna hit the brakes and they'll blow right on by.
I do want to make a reference to something. I don't know if it was said earlier in the episode or it's coming up in a little bit here by Girardi, actually. And we've been making a lot of references to Rios as like Han Rios or Rios Solo, but she actually makes the Star Wars reference and says, like, as much as I'd love to jump into that comet and have it be, I was like, did Girardi just make a Star Wars reference in Star Trek?
Yeah.
What? So I was like, huh, that's interesting. Like, I wonder what Trek fans feel, like hardcore Trek fans feel about hearing something like that. So it was just,
I enjoyed the shit out of it.
I enjoyed the shit out of it too. It was very, God, it was so, it was kind of fourth wall breaky and very meta at the same time. Mm-hmm. Just like, what? Did Matt just make a Star Wars reference? Oh, that's brilliant. But oh my God, that was the best part of writing outside of the Nepenthe, outside of the Nepenthe planet. Unfortunately, in this episode.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty great.
I thought it was good too. So basically, like, in the tail scene where, you know, Rios punches it and he stops and he's like, all right, we should be good. I'm just gonna punch it real quick. This guy's gonna shoot right past me. He has no idea where I stopped. And Girardi again is freaking out. And Mama Rafi's got the cure for what ails her. Yeah. And then she goes, meaning drugs. And Girardi and Yuso, I think, astutely pointed out, and trying to keep up appearances that she's not a psychopathic murderer, is like, oh, is it cake? And I'm telling you, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I talked about it before this damn episode. We started this damn podcast. I was like, listen, every time Girardi makes a stupid ass wisecrack like that, now I just want to, like, take that cake and choke on it, you murderous bitch. Like, what? like, like, seriously. Like, I know you're trying to bring levity to the situation and keep up appearances, but screw you.
What's up?
Screw you, you crazy murderous bitch. Seriously.
No, I don't understand that at all. But on the other hand, thinking about it, it could be she is still like the naive geek, right?
Right.
She just was like kind of mind melded with Commodore O-Face, and that's what turned her into the murderous sociopath.
Yeah.
So there's two possibilities here. One is that she's trying to keep up appearances and keep the sociopath thing on the DL. Or number two is that it could be that she is like just this dork deep down inside and legit missed the drug reference, the overt drug reference that the rest of us caught that Rafi was making.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and like she could have actually thought that she meant cake.
Listen, man. My comment comes from a stance of pure like dislike for Girardi as a character after straight up cold-blooded murdering Maddox, and being like, hey, Rios, want to get jiggity down with me? Like, literally 5 minutes after she murders her lover in cold blood, and she's just like, Rios, want to get diggity down with it? Like, I see you kicking.
Jump on that kick.
I see you kicking some balls there. Why don't you let me kick your balls around a little bit? Like, seriously, like this psychopath, man. So when she makes comments like that, yeah, it might be like her nerd. Dumb coming out and completely missing it, but I still want to jam that cake right down her damn throat, man. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say about it. But anyway, so after this scene, we go back to the Nepenthe, to the planet of Nepenthe, and Riker's preparing this pizza, and he and Picard are having discussions, and Riker tries to get out of him, you know, exactly what's going on here. And pretty much without Picard having to say shit to him.
Bullshit part.
Go ahead. Cause go ahead.
Because Riker's like, so you don't want to tell anything? He's like, and Picard's like, nope, sure don't. And he's like, okay, let me try and suss it out then. and he basically Sherlock Holmes this shit.
Oh, all of it, like all of it.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit. He's like, all right, well, it's not you they're after. It's clearly the girl, and she's clearly an android, and she's clearly Data's daughter because she tilts her head. So
I thought that was a nifty little part. Yeah, in case you guys didn't catch it, like, and I think that part actually comes a little bit later. If I'm honest with you, I think you may, yeah, because then she comes up with Kestra, and they're talking back and forth, and Picard does tell Riker, he goes, no, like, I don't want to tell you. Yeah. And he's like, all right, keep your secrets, with the Frodo meme or whatever, just keep your secrets. And he goes back to cooking his damn pizza, and then the two of them come out, or like he catches their attention, and Kestra's like, oh my god, she just read through Thad's book in like 2 minutes, and he's like, what?
Yeah,
so
it's like that's 300 pages.
Right. So there's a little bit of prerequisite there before he like susses out like, that she's an android. Yeah,
that's true. Fair enough.
And you get like I'm glad I was able to capture this image because this is the tilt, and she does it very similar to how like I kind of caught that a little bit personally too as I was watching it. I was like, oh, nifty little Data head nod there, like. Mm-hmm. And then Riker says it late, like literally a couple minutes after this, and I like there's a little bit of prerequisite there for him to suss some of it out. And
I'll buy it a little bit more. I actually dig that screenshot. That helps me out.
Yeah, and she's even got like the blank look on her face down too. Like that was what did it for me. It wasn't just the head, like she could have been like she could have done this, but she has that like,
yeah,
you know, that blank look on her face like Data used to when he, you know, tilt his head. And like I was like, okay, like it's just a very good acting job on her part, honestly, because that for me like cued Data in my head like right away.
Yeah, it's like clearly got Data's DNA in her.
Right. Like, so
you didn't even know that was a thing. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly got Data's DNA. Well,
I didn't know that was possible.
That yes, I would agree with you. Like. He knows she's an android. He knows that she's a special android.
I don't think he'd have been that cool about it. I wouldn't have been.
Probably not.
I feel I'm very Rikery.
You are, but I feel like Riker susses a lot of stuff out, though. Like,
that's true.
I feel like he does have kind of a sixth sense for kind of figuring out. And especially think about this too. Like, you've been married to a Betazoid for 18 years. You might have she might have felt it out. Like, here's the thing too, like you don't hear this before like this interaction, but she very well could have felt it out before they even beamed onto the planet, or like right when they beamed onto the planet. Because I mean, think about it, Next Generation.
That's fair. She's empathic.
Right. Think about the Next Generation where like they'd be orbiting planets and he'd be like, Counselor Troy, what do you feel down there? And she'd be like, oh, they're all like, you know, she'd do.
She a sense of unease, Captain.
Yeah, Nate, thank you for the like on the stream. She would do her Betazoid thing and then basically tell him what she felt or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's very likely that, you know, it's part Riker and maybe part Troy at this point, like how they figure out who she is.
I'll buy it.
And
you keep fixing this episode for me.
I'm not fixing it so much in that like I
appreciate it. I want to like it.
I mean, I want to like it too. I also want to call out shitty writing, and if there's
done it, and we'll continue to.
That was damn good Picard impression. Oh, thank you, Nate. I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy. So you know, we get this back and forth, like you said, between Picard and Riker after that whole head tilt thing, and. Yeah, he's like, okay, this is who she is. And I'll give you that some of it is, yeah, maybe a little suspect that he fishes out. But I mean, as he continues to, I think he's like logicking this out in his head too, like kind of going through the steps. Although he does say that he has it in his head for a while, but I think he's been logicking this out in his head pretty much since they got there. Like, who's this girl? And remember too, like they had the conversation, the three of them, like pretty much right after they got there, that like, yeah, she like thinks she's an android, she feels like a human, she acts like a human, but I can't feel anything. Like that's Deanna, that's Counselor Troy's. Like I can't get anything from her because she's an android. Like, so there's like, I really like that Counselor Troy is in this particular episode along with Riker and Picard, because like we get those moments too, like, and we'll get to it in a little bit, where like you get some very nostalgic, like the bridge and the ready room moments in this episode, which are very, very cool. And these ones where the three of them are talking about who she is, like that scene in particular, the scene coming up after the one that I'm showing you here, where Troy's talking about Thad and the disease that you had mentioned, a couple of scenes ago, when we were talking about Picard and her in Thad's room or whatever. This is where she goes into what the disease was that killed her son, and she gives Soji a tomato to eat, and she talks about how if synth technology was available, or they were making any more synth stuff, that her son could have been easily cured. So there's for me, for this, at this part, like I was slightly suspicious of Troy. Like, is she kind of like trying to lay some guilt trip on Soji at this point, or is she just like legitimately like telling her, like, is she telling her this for a reason, like kind of like she told Picard, like, hey, we want you here. Yes. And I tend to think,
well, here's why I think, because I think that Troy knows what Soji's going through. And she knows the general climate about synths in the universe right now.
Sure.
And she wants to arm Soji with the fact that synths can be useful. That's what I think. I think her intentions here are pure.
Okay. And I didn't look at it like that, so I thank you for clarifying that for me, for sure, buddy.
I mean, it's a theory.
It is. And it is, because you can't really
based on what I know about Troy.
Right.
That's what she would do. That's something she would do.
Right. There's that's why I like these scenes with Riker and Troy, because there's a lot of, like, obviously there's precedent here for these characters, and you don't really need to explain, an interaction between like her and Soji, or Soji and Riker, for example, or, any of the Picard dialogue with Riker or Troy, because obviously there's precedent there for the characters. So they're talking about all of this stuff, and Soji mentions to Troy, like, you doing this now, like, makes me trust you less. I don't trust Picard. I don't trust Kestra. I don't trust Riker. And Picard walks up and he hears this, and he's like, yes, because, we would bring you here and feed you all this awesome food, and essentially, like, almost kind of mocking her for thinking that she's, like, being, like, manipulated here. And then she walks up to him and does this in this scene. She essentially gets physical with him and like pushes him out of the way.
Yeah. And then I like actually his explanation on that, and Troy, like, that whole interaction was funny.
What's that, the whole teenage daughter thing or whatever?
No, where Troy's like, ship's counselors aren't supposed to say this, but you had it coming, and then kind of explains it from her perspective like a counselor does.
Oh, right.
Like, well, she could have ripped me in half, so I actually appreciate her restraint.
Yeah, she could have broken me, like, if she wanted to, so I actually appreciate her not, like, ripping me to shreds, so. But yeah, Troy goes into it with Picard, and he's basically like, she's been manipulated, she's been almost killed, she's been basically had her world turned upside down. This sort of thing to you.
World turned upside down face?
Upside down face, this to you might seem like real, but this to her, like, if it were subterfuge or subversion, would be like any other normal day for her. So, like, back the fuck off, Picard, is essentially what she's telling him.
Yeah.
And he's like, he like is stunned for a second, and he's like, and she's like, you need to be Jean-Luc Picard, compassionate, like, understanding, caring, and all this other stuff. You don't insult Picard's hospitality, that's a no-no, and Troy showed a lot of restraint too. You don't insult Picard's hospitality, that's a no-no, and Troy showed a lot of restraint too. Oh, it's not even Picard, this is Picard there, he's visiting them, like, he's on their planet, he's in their home. Mm-hmm. And this, to be fair, Nate, like, this isn't the bridge of the Enterprise anymore. This is three friends talking after not seeing each other for essentially probably 15 to 20 years. We don't know of any interaction between them. No,
they because he said he met the son twice only. Once when he was a baby, and then once when he was grown. And I assume, like, when he was a little bit grown was when probably the girl was a baby. I would say that was probably the last time he was there. So you're
maybe,
looking at
but
probably 12 years ago, I would bet.
yeah, it's been a long time, in other words. Calvin, thank you for the like, and Maddox, thank you for the double share on the stream. Calvin, thank you for the 134 followage.
What is this followage thing?
It's how long you've been following the page for. 134 days for Calvin. That's awesome. 283 days for you, buddy. Jesus Christ. That's
day
like
home sliggity slice.
Day one, man. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure.
As
So
soon
yeah,
as I found out about it, I clicked all the buttons.
yeah, I know you did. I appreciate you for that, buddy. Thank you.
That's what friends are for.
So let's see. All right, so we're back onto the Borg cube, and Hugh is talking to Elnor about the Queen Cell. So somehow Elnor has like zipped in at this point. Like he came in at the very end of the scene where he was getting tortured. Don't know where he was. Don't know what happened to him after the guards were killed. I assume he like zipped out of there to like hide or something after Hugh maybe got captured. But none of that stuff is really explained in much detail. It's just, you know, he was captured, glossed over a little bit. And, you know, Elnor and Hugh are going back to the Queen Cell at this point, and they're trying to activate some hidden power, which I don't think we really get any kind of specific description on
I think
what.
they're just trying to bring the cube back online.
I think they are too.
And he was like, we're taking this cube back over. And he says it like very loudly.
Yeah, very loudly. Loudly enough for Lady Romulan, Cersei Lannister, to be like, well, I just so happened to be right around the corner and heard your insurrection, so let me drop this treaty on you real quick and pew pew.
That's a treaty violation. Which we don't need to prove in a court of law or anything like that. Now we can just ace you.
So again, they bring up the treaty violation.
Like, why don't just like shoot him the first time and say like, well, he was talking about a treaty violation, so
yeah. Like, you're Tal Shiar, man. You're Jat Vash. Like, come up with something.
Like, even still, like, what evidence did she have that he was planning on violating the treaty when she killed him?
Exactly. None.
Like, she could have just said that he planned on violating the treaty the first time.
Right.
The whole thing is stupid.
Exactly. The only thing that we could see that she did this for, and even then, mentioning the treaty is stupid. It has zero bearing and no relevance. And again, mentioning it here has no relevance. You're just about to murder Hugh anyway. Alex, welcome to the Panda Fam. And thank you for the like on the stream, Alex. Welcome into the episode 7 Nepenthe review of the Star Trek Picard series. This is not all I do. I play video games pretty much every other day. So we do this podcast once a week on Thursdays.
Day and night.
Yeah, day and night. But we do this podcast on Thursdays because that's when the episode premieres. We're on episode 7 of 10, not 7 of 9. We're on episode 7 of 10, and yeah, you're coming in, and wouldn't anyway. Anyway, so she finds Hugh and overhears them talking all this insurrection, and she just straight up like murders his face. Throws a knife, throws a dart at him while her and Elnor are getting like handsy and like hand-to-hand combat. She like fakes Elnor out with a dart and then like flips one over at Hugh. And the best character, one of the best characters in this freaking series, after his like big episode where he's like part of all of the action, they kill him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm taking over this cube, and she's like, no, you're not, motherfucker.
No, you're not. Zip, you're dead.
In fact, you're not taking over anything.
Ooh, 133 for you, Maddox. Very nice, buddy. So he dies. But before he dies, he tells Elnor that he needs another XB to activate the cube.
Yep, that's his last piece of information.
And
People
then
give a last piece of information before they die in the series.
They do. They really do. I think that was like, why don't you just tell him he needs another X? Like, you need like.
Well, he was an XP, so he was the one to do it.
I know.
It makes sense here. I won't shit on it.
Michael, thank you for the like. JB, what's up, buddy? Thanks for the like on the stream. So anyway, Hugh gets off. Elnor, here's Hugh. Here's Hugh on with his dying breath. Stun! That's not how he dies, but you know. Things. Anyway, so after this scene, we go back to our Mama Rafi's drug and pleasure palace here on the ship, and She's what do you call it? A reconstructor or the thing that makes all the food? Replicator. Thank you. I couldn't think of that for the life of me throughout this like while I was watching the episode. I'm like, what the hell are those things called, man? Anyway, so Rafi's replicating cake left and right, red velvet cake for Girardi. She's already gone through a couple pieces. She's eaten a third. She gets her glass of chocolate milk, and Rafi's kind of going on and on about stuff. And all of a sudden, damn, Cash with the 221, man, very nice. And then all of a sudden, Girardi just starts breaking down, and she starts crying. Probably because she's emotionally overwhelmed, because she's not only murdered her lover in cold blood, she also then hooked up with the ship's captain, like right after that. She is clearly like being deceiving and divisive, which I'll talk about a little bit later in this episode. And just all around like sociopath, man. So she just, I think like emotions are kind of like getting to her at this point. It also is funny that like you had mentioned, like she kills Maddox like literally like you like boop 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 1-800 dial, you know, like calling for a freaking pizza, man.
Like she's ordering a pizza.
You know, like dial a death.
Boondock Saints.
Yeah, like she's ordering a freaking pizza. Exactly. And then now is like all emotional about all this stuff. Like I don't know, man. She just.
I mean, she was upset about it when she was doing it. To be fair, she's like, I wish you knew what I knew.
Yeah. But like no hesitation, none whatsoever. None. She just does it, and then
gotta waste this guy.
Oh God. Hey, what's up, Austin? How you doing, man? Austin Taglione. Hey, welcome to the stream, buddy. So anyway, she's eating her cake, and Girardi's talking to her, and she busts out the waterworks, and Girardi's like, hold on, hold the phone here. What if like she says like both Rafi and Rio say something that like rings true with what she's done, but like she doesn't admit it. She just continues to hold it in, and like Rafi ends this scene by calling the EMH, the emergency medical hologram, to report like a medical emergency. Like I said, everything off of Nepenthe was just blah as far as writing is concerned. Oh my God, you are the first to say my last name right. I'm Italian, man. I gotta pronounce Taglione correct, man. I'd feel like an idiot Italian if I couldn't do that. Hey, my last name's Donzelli, man, so I get it. I grew up
in Carroll Stream, so I get it too.
Here's another Boondock Saints reference. I'm an expert in nameology. What's the symbology there? The symbolism there. The symbolism. The symbolism.
Then Dan Brown came along and actually made symbology a word, and Robert Langdon is the professor of it at Harvard.
Oh my goodness. That's funny. Anyway, so back to the episode. We go back to Nepenthe, and they've gathered around the dinner table, and this is your ready room kind of throwback for all of our TNG fans. You know, they're sitting around the table, and they're talking about like what steps to take next, and who to contact and who not to contact. And I'm really curious who the hell this Captain Crandall is, because Kestra mentions him. Riker's like, yeah, but he's a crazy old fool. And like Troy's like, ho ho ho, Captain Crandall. And I'm like, who is Captain Crandall? Like,
oh, you mean old Ben Kenobi?
You mean old Ben Kenobi? Like, let's just keep with the Star Wars references, you know what I mean? Yeah. So again, like Captain Crandall is, oh my God, he's
that crazy old man.
Captain Crandall is mentioned, I think, as
crops this fall.
I don't think we'll ever hear or see Captain Crandall ever again. So he's kind of like
That'd be weird.
He's kind of plot devicey. I don't think we're gonna see him again. If we don't, he's a plot device.
The guy that finds out the planet.
He's just the guy who finds out the planet that Soji comes from, and that's all he's there for. If we do see him again, then I will rescind my comment about him being a plot device, and maybe I'll be wrong, but at this point, he's just a plot device to me. Which this was to me.
This episode he for sure was.
Yeah, this to me was the only kind of jarring moment of the Nepenthe scenes. Was like, who the fuck is Captain Crandall, and why should I care about him? Oh, because he knows where Soji's planet is. Of course he does.
Yeah, and I think like they like with as interesting as they made, what's her name, Kestra?
Kestra, yeah, the daughter.
Yeah. As interesting as they made her, like when she was like on her phone.
The go-between, yeah, like.
Yeah, I thought she could have just been like Googling it and figuring it out herself.
That's what I thought too. I was like, this is like the 24th century version of Googling something, I guess.
And I wouldn't have had a problem with that either.
I wouldn't have either if she like looked it up on some like space open network or something. That's like, what is this planet? Oh, it's planet, RL1357 or whatever the hell in this system. But she asked some random dude, and I'm not even like, first of all, what's some old crotchety captain have? Like, why does he have a relationship with this daughter of, I mean, maybe because like Riker knows him and Troy, like Riker seems to know who he is and Troy knows him, and maybe like they're old friends or something, but I don't know. It just felt weird to me. That's all. Austin says, why don't you game with me named Ologist?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure.
Why don't you game with me, Nameologist? What's your gaming page again, Austin? Hit me up in a DM with it, man. Am I missing a new Star Trek series? Yeah, this is Picard, man, on CBS. 7 episodes in, buddy. 7 episodes in, baby.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how much of this is canon, but there were a bunch of books written on the Titan.
Okay.
With Riker in command.
Okay.
And he was an officer who worked in engineering on the Titan under Mordecai Crandall.
Okay. Okay, so if those books are canon, maybe that's a just a quick reference to them or something. I don't know. Okay, so there is precedent here for Captain Crandall, but like we have to dig through a book.
Oh, there's a Rupert Crandall also. Which one's this one?
Okay, maybe it's Rupert Crandall.
Maybe
anyway,
it's not Mordecai.
You keep looking.
Mordecai Crandall was an ensign. This is Rupert Crandall, a male who lived during the late 24th century. Knew Riker and Troy and Kestra.
That's probably the one that they're referencing then.
That's the whole article.
Awesome.
Rupert Crandall, he was a captain.
Okay, so that's probably the Crandall we're talking about
not
then.
Mordecai.
Okay, not Mordecai. Mordecai's an awesome name. It would have been awesome if it was him, but it's not.
Turns out he's Amish and also an engineer.
Hey Dan, what's up, Brinkman? Thank you for the like on the stream, buddy. Welcome in. So back to the scene here. So they're all talking around the table about what to do next, and they need to find the planet. And then Kestra Googles it with Captain Crandall, and he tells her that it's this planet in this system. I can't remember the name of the system, and the planet only has a number. It doesn't even have a name. So
it's the Dagobah system.
It's the Dagobah system. Planet.
No, I'm fucking around. That's where Yoda's heading out.
It's planet Exegol. The Sith artifact has guided our way there, and we're gonna find out that Palpatine's alive again. And sorry. Star Wars spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there, just a couple of good quick pictures of them all talking around the dinner table. And we do get a little bit of, I guess, like a little bit of classic Picard when, he's talking to Soji and she clearly still isn't trusting him when she's telling him about the mind, the whole meditation thing and how Narek like manipulated her and all this. And he basically gives her like, listen, man, like, I'm Jean-Luc Picard. The line must be drawn. He doesn't get like that, but he's very compassionate and very open. And he's like, read my pupils, like read my heartbeat. Like you're an android. You should be able to know that I'm not lying to you right now. And she's like, even if he thinks he's not lying, like I still don't trust him. And it's like, God damn, Soji, like how much is it going to take for you to trust that Picard is actually on your side here? Like, can't you have some, like, vision like your sister did? Like, that's another thing. Let me ask that question. Why has Soji not had, like, a little vision like Daj did, where it was, like, find Picard? And then Daj found him, but now that Soji's, like, activated, like, why does she not have the same...
So maybe she's got a different contact point because Daj was supposed to go to Earth, right? And
maybe.
Be at the Daystrom Institute. And then Soji was supposed to go to the artifact, so they wouldn't tell her to find Picard because he's not close by.
That's a good point. Who would they... speculation.
know.
Who would they tell her to find then?
I have no idea.
Who would they tell her to meet up with? That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Be interesting to what the jerk. Sorry, Austin. So yeah, it's yeah, that's just a really, like, I just thought about that right now, and it's gonna bother me a little bit until we find, like, if I wonder if we're ever gonna get that question answered, if Soji has like a contact point like Daj did with Picard. Interesting. So we go from dinner at Riker's casa on Nepenthe back to Rios, Rafi, and Jurati, and Rios is taking Jurati down to sickbay, and basically, like, at this point he tells Jurati that he essentially thinks that it's Rafi who's betrayed them. Yep. And he mentions Free Cloud and how she didn't want to come back, but then came back right away. He's like, what if she's being tracked? What if she betrays us? And it's at this point here, too, like, I was like, come on, Jurati, just do the right thing. Just tell them. These episodes are on demand for like a day or two, and then I think they come out on Amazon Prime, like on Friday or Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the only place you can get them is on CBS All Access if you live in the United States. If you live abroad, then there is no CBS All Access, and you get it on Amazon Prime only, but after we get it. It comes out on Friday rather than Thursday. Right.
Okay, so yes, they are on demand. You can watch all the episode reviews that we have on YouTube on my YouTube page, or go back through the videos if you want higher quality, because YouTube or Facebook wouldn't let me download the high quality ones. But if you want kind of a like an hour and a half to 2 hours sometimes synopsis of very detailed review of the episodes, you can go back and watch my reviews if you'd like to. Or you can spend the $10 a month on CBS and watch the episodes, man. Just binge it and cancel your subscription.
Yep. That's how I would handle it.
There you go. So yeah, back on the ship, we've got, Rios telling Jurati that he thinks it's Rafi who's betrayed them, and that's how they're being tracked, and blah 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 blah. And this is the first point that Jurati has. Well, the first point really is when she's talking with Rafi. When she breaks down, that's when I thought she was going to kind of spill the beans and be like, that's me. This is the second point where she's like, hey, I could tell you what's going on, but I'm just going to let you believe that Rafi is the one who betrays us, or is betraying us right now.
Like, she starts to, she's like, it's not Rafi. And then Rios is like, great. I'm going to go deal with this emergency.
Yeah, he's like, she's like, what if it's not Rafi? And he's like, what? Like, it's you or something? And she's like, and then Rafi's like, Rios, I need you back on the bridge, Rio. And he's like, all right, bye. He goes back up to the ship. Okay, bye. He goes back up to the bridge to deal with, the fact that they've been tracked again. And we see at this point, Jurati replicate herself. I forget what the
some poison.
Basically,
it's a neurotoxin.
It's a neurotoxin. She essentially injects herself with this and puts herself into a coma, which then deactivates the tracker beam.
Yeah, so this is another bit of trash. We've got this tracker beam, this tracker device that she had to chew, right? Which probably means that it's in her system. It's been, like, absorbed into her, so you can't, like, pry it out, right?
Right.
So that's great. However, we'll spoil this because it was spoiled for us. In the preview for the next episode, you see her alive. She's clearly not dead. She's also clearly conscious. She's out of the coma, right?
Yep.
So we'll say this. She goes into a coma, the EMH pops up, and he's like, oh, bloody hell. And he, like, picks her up and like, calls up to the bridge and is like, hey, by the way, she's in a coma. All right. But then, it cuts to...
That's her season ass right there after she injects herself.
Yeah. So then, like, it cuts to the...
It's such a bad picture.
Romulan, Narek, and then he's like, blast! But he says it in Romulan.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's like, okay, so you had her chew this tracker. You just need to sort of go into a coma in order for the thing not to work? Why does it not continue to track her dead body? Why, if she's not dead, did it stop working? None of this makes any sense. And then also, like, why kill yourself? If you know that you're the only thing being tracked, why not, if you're feeling bad about it, tell them. Let them dump you off on some planet somewhere. And then they can continue on their merry way while Narek tracks your ass.
Austin says she looks like a rabid dog. I know, I got such a good picture. She's just like,
That's what Narek Paxton's do to you.
Just foaming at the mouth, convulsing and stuff. And like I said, big credit to Alison Pill, man. She does a lot of good acting and stuff in this series. It's just her character is the most confusing one on this show for sure. And
there's some shite happening.
The only thing I can say to reconcile the whole coma thing is when she took the neurotoxin, like the tracker is like transmitting through her neural signals. So like putting herself
in, wouldn't it come back online when she regains consciousness? And maybe we'll find that out next episode.
We'll find that out next episode. But right now, like all of this stuff seems silly to us. Like this stuff right here specifically, like the tracker and everything. Like they made such a big deal of it at the beginning of the episode, like with Commodore O and everything. It's like, eat this tracker, chew it, like so we can track you. No mention of how it works. No mention of like, yeah, she doesn't say anything to her like, oh, like this will go offline if, or this will like, and I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be.
You don't want to tell her how to turn it off,
right? But it doesn't necessarily need to be stated, but at the same time, like. We're making a lot of inferences here because we have no idea like why this tracker all of a sudden stopped working. The only thing that I can see them like doing to kind of weave logically through this is that the neurotoxin she took somehow blocked the tracker, like because it was reading her neuro like signals or something.
Yeah, that's what we can go with as far as what makes logical sense.
That's all like if that's not the explanation, then this was a shittily written scene in my opinion. Like if they explain it in the next episode, then okay, I can buy this, I guess. There's still a lot. I don't know, man. Jurati is a character that seems so far over her head right now. Like, and I think that's why at the beginning of the episode, like you heard her say to Commodore O, she's like, me go into space, like I've never even been off planet like ever once. And yeah, okay, but like you also live in the 24th century where like Ramalama Ding Dongs and Vulcans and all these other races are just like there.
You could walk to the moon, honestly. You could walk on a transporter and be on the moon or Mars or whatever. It's
right.
not hard to do.
Exactly. That's not like.
And also, like, you're not poor.
Yeah, you're a doctor.
You're like the lead synth person at the Daystrom Institute. That's literally not brought you ever off world. Whatever, we're nitpicking here, I guess.
We are nitpicking a little bit at this point, but Peter says Sabo, and Austin says, "Do what's logical, Mr. Spock." Yes.
What's up, Peter?
Anyway, so we get this scene here too, and I'm not really sure what this means either. Like there's a lot of explaining to do in the next episode, I feel like. I don't know if you caught what this all was, but Elnor's like hidden in the Borg cube and they're seemingly looking for him still, and he finds this like trinket and then activates it and then like clutches it in his hand and is like,
yeah, did you catch what the trinket said?
No, I didn't. That's what I missed.
It's the Fenris Ranger SOS.
Oh, okay, so that explains why 7 of 9 is in the preview for the next episode. Okay, makes sense. I'm on
Borg cube and no one's coming to rescue me, so I'm kind of super fucked here.
I had no idea what it said on
it says right on there like Fenris SOS.
I missed it, man. I even tried to like look for it too. Like I like rewinded and I was like, what does that say? I
watched it on my phone and was able to catch it.
I can't see it.
The only place I was able to watch it was on my phone, and I did back it up to see that, but
I had to too, and I still missed it because I'm like, what does this say?
Surrounded by assholes.
Surrounded by assholes.
How many assholes are on this ship?
Legolas, what do your Alphi see? Have you ever seen that Bubbles meme? on the from Trailer Park Boys. Yes, it's
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Like I've seen, like, what do your egg eyes see? And it's like 2 scrambled eggs here, hard-boiled eggs, or sunny side up, and he's like, Legolas, what do your egg eyes see? And he's like, egg.
Egg. Austin says, "Don't make that face again. It was scary."
Scary face.
So yeah, we got Elnor pinging the Fenris Rangers, which again that explains why 7 of 9 is in the next episode. So we had a nice little scene here of Picard and Riker on the pier, and Picard's like, "Are you gonna try and talk me out of this?" And Riker's like, "Nah, I know better than that.
I know better than to try.
I know better than to
It's like
try."
a nice little heartwarming scene between 2 friends.
It is, and that's really all it is. This scene, like, again, more
That's the fan service, but I'm fine with it. I wanted it.
More fan service, more nostalgia, and
Give it to me.
even with it in this episode, like, it doesn't feel like it's overly fan servicey either. Like, there's a scene or two, sure, but like
that's just how they would react.
Right, exactly. And
it's
like
natural to me.
Like you mentioned before the podcast, or maybe during the podcast earlier, how like he mentions in episode 2 or whatever to Jaban, he's like, when Jaban's like, "Well, why don't you like message Riker and Troy and Worf?" And he's like, "Because they're so loyal that they'll follow me, like, basically to the death.
They'll do stupid shit to save me.
They'll do stupid shit to save me." And you know, this is him.
I don't want to put anybody in danger.
Right, exactly. So I want a new Star.
That's because he was haunted by Data.
Yeah, absolutely. I want a new Star Trek movie, to be honest. Austin, maybe. Who knows?
They were in the works with the 3rd one in the Abrams verse.
That's what I've. Wait, 3rd or 4th? Pretty sure there's the first one, and then there's the one with Khan, and then there's Into the Darkness after that.
Darkness is Khan.
Isn't there one after that, like Edge of the Universe or something? Pretty sure there's 3 out right now.
Are there? Maybe it's a 4th one then, because it was supposed to be Tarantino, and then they decided not to do that.
Austin says,
yeah. You know what? There was the 3rd one, and Simon Cowell directed that one. It wasn't Abrams.
That's right. Not
Simon Cowell. Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg.
That was a pot of trash.
that was trash. Goodbye. You're not America's Next Top Idol or American Idol. Austin says yes, there are 3. Okay, all right. And then we get a nice little scene where the 3 of them all, they're all kind of seeing each other off. We get a scene right before this where you get Soji and Kestra again kind of talking about how they'll miss each other. And then you get this scene with Picard and Troy and Riker all kind of saying their goodbyes.
Gives her a broken compass, which, as it turns out, is not broken. And when you open it, it just points to whatever your heart desires the most.
Yeah, all right, Johnny Depp. All right, Jack Sparrow. We're not looking for. We're not looking for the Black Pearl here, all right? But I hear what you're saying. The pearl.
Hello, puppet.
So last little scene, Picard, messaging Rios that there's 2 to beam up, and that's pretty much the end of this episode. We get the Next Generation little overture to kind of end the episode with Riker and Troy there, and a nice pan out scene of the planet of Nepenthe, and then boom, that's the episode. And next week's preview,
looks wild.
Looks kind of wild. Like, we get a lot of the scenes that we see in the Vulcan mind meld between Commodore O and Jurati here. In the next episode, we also get 7 of 9 back being like, what the hell's going on in this Borg cube? And then like a bunch of crazy shit happening to the Borg cube. I'm not really sure what the hell that was.
I'm excited to have 7 back on a Borg cube.
I'm excited for that too. Really excited to see that.
Because all of the XPs that we are aware of in this thing, other than Ichab, will have been back on a Borg cube at this point.
Yep, precisely. Yeah, Picard, Hugh, and 7 of 9 then. And then you get, like you had mentioned, we get the clear scene of Jurati awake. So there's really no spoiler here, and to be honest with you, like, it's the 24th century. Like, I'm pretty sure they could probably bring someone out of a coma pretty quickly.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think he put her in the coma on purpose.
Maybe Well, he probably did to maybe save her life, actually,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
keep
that's
her
what I
from
mean.
killing herself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they will show
Yes.
the other crews of the Enterprise?
They
Probably.
so they said that they didn't want to just like get the old band back together because that would suck. They wanted to do something different, but having characters in the episodes that where it works and fits in with the plot was something that they were willing to do.
Which everybody that we've seen so far has fit
Yeah,
into the
no,
plot.
it's been good. Yeah, it's been good. They haven't forced anybody in.
Nope.
There's no shoehorning.
Even
We're happy with
this,
that.
even this, like Picard says he didn't want to come here, but it was like an impulse to try and save him and Soji at the very end of the
Right.
last episode. Like, just get me to Nepenthe, like as fast as you can, sort of thing. So, like, even this episode where, and again, the best parts of this episode were all on Nepenthe, in my opinion. The best written scenes were on Nepenthe. The best shot scenes were on Nepenthe. The best, obviously, we got the TNG overtures when they were on Nepenthe.
The reunion.
The reunion.
No, it's all there.
Right.
They took their time with that and rushed everything else.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it was still an hour episode. It was longer than any of the others.
Yeah, it was 59 minutes. I mean, you obviously get your preview and then or your recap and then your preview. It probably taken like 5 minutes of that, but still a 55 minute episode's pretty good.
Well, doing your Austin says he hopes they do something cool and he doesn't want to be disappointed. We're 7 episodes in. There's only 3 left.
Yeah,
So.
we're kind of coming like, if something big is going to happen, I feel like it's probably not going to be in the next episode. It'll most likely be in episode 9, and then our episode 10 will be like a slight denouement and resolution, but I still think there's got to be something teased out there.
They greenlit a second season,
right? Which is exactly why I still think, I think there's going to be a little bit of a decline in the action and then a resolution, but I think there's going to be a tease or a hang for the next season.
Oh, no question. And it's kind of like, from what there's rumors that this was basically the story was written for 3 seasons.
Something tells me Girardi's going to play a part in that.
Yeah, I think so too.
And
then also something interesting that I just read. So because
what's up, Perk Berry? Thank you for the like, buddy. Sorry, go ahead.
Granted me access to CBS All Access here.
Mm-hmm.
I took the liberty to watch. Hold on. Computer keeps locking on me. I took the liberty to watch Star Trek Discovery, which, in my opinion, season 1 was pretty damn good. Season 2, not so much, but not awful. It wasn't unwatchable. It just wasn't as good as season 1. But at the end of season 2, they end up going like way forward into the future. There's like time travel involved with these time crystals, and they go to like, I think, what is Picard's time. So there might be some Discovery overlap and Picard overlap in the next season of one or the other.
Interesting. Austin says they may make Picard a Borg again, but what do I know? I'm out of the loop. That's very unlikely, as the Borg are pretty much...
They're toast.
I would say they're toast at this point right now, yeah. Like, the only Borg that you're seeing are XBs, which are X-Borgs or reclaimed Borgs. And really the only mention of any kind of Borg presence is this cube that we see in this season. Like, we don't really see much of it anywhere else, except in regard to what's her name from episode 5 with Maddox and whatever, the black market lady or whatever for the Borg parts. Like, that's the only other.
Why am I blanking on her name?
I am too. It's fine. Bejazzle.
Bejazzle.
That's right, because we thought her name sounded like Bedazzle. Bejazzle. Yeah. That's what her name was.
Bahotness,
yeah. But Vegeta with her Vegeta shoulders in that episode. Right. Oh man, but
Vegeta,
yeah. But anyway, we if I had to rank this episode, I would say it's probably in the bottom tier of episodes for this season for me. Yep. I still hold that 6 was the best. 5 is probably the second best episode, and 1 is probably the next best. It's either like 1 and 5 or like number 2, or like 1 is slightly below 5 for me as far as the episodes go.
I would put 1 above 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 had some cheesiness in it that wasn't in 1.
Fair enough. Fair enough. One was just go 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 from
1
pretty
was a
much.
banger.
Yeah, one was go 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 from start, and it had to be like it had to
Otherwise you're gonna
capture
bore everybody.
it had to capture people's attention. So, Star Trek DBZ crossover, maybe with Bedazzle or Vegeta or whatever we're gonna call her. And then I would say episodes 2, 3, and 4 kind of sit somewhere below 1 and 5 for me. I'm not saying they're bad, but they were necessary exposition episodes and they move very slowly. And then this episode was definitely the worst of the season. And
Which sucks because you have your Riker reunion in
right,
here, that was so
exactly.
well done, but everything else ruins it.
Like if I had to give the Nepenthe portion of this episode a rating, I would say it's up there with like episode 1, 5, 6, and 1. But everywhere else in this episode ranks like last for me as far as like the storytelling and the logic and the exposition and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. Theories, thoughts, stuff about the next episode. We see an awake Girardi talking about, oh, do you believe in hell? Yeah, because you should be there, you goddamn cake-eating bitch. That's what you should be in hell.
I hope you choke on that cake.
I hope you choke on that cake, too, god damn it. We've got 7 of 9 making a reappearance. Something crazy happening to the Borg ship. We get the visions from the... We get the mind meld visions. Like, I don't know if it's just more mind melding or it's actually happening. Like,
yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. They could be throwing us. I don't know. But it's going to be wild.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, man. It's going to be a very, very interesting episode 8. I think we're going to see some more building in the next episode, like rising action. Like, I think episode 8 is going to be a lot like 5.
I think episode 5, yep, I get the exact same feeling. And then 9 is the penultimate, and that's usually always the good one.
Yep. So, I'm thinking episode...
That's your Battle of the Bastards, or...
Right, or Winterfell, or the Battle of the Wall, on the Wall, or whatever the hell it is, you know what I mean? So, you're absolutely correct. It's... Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one next week. If anybody has anything else that they want to add, I mean, we've been going at this for about an hour and 45 now, so.
Has it really been?
Yeah, like time flies, man, when you're having fun. It's awesome.
It sure does. I was like, we should, this is a quick one.
Yeah, I felt like this was quick too, and I'm like looking down at the time and I'm like, holy shit, we're at like almost an hour and 45 minutes, so.
My God,
man. Anyway, so I just want to say thank you guys again for coming out to the podcast today. Again, this was episode 7 of the Star Trek Picard series, Nepenthe. Not the best episode in the series. Definitely our least favorites, but it does have its moments when they're on, namely on Nepenthe. Episode 8 should be a good one. I'm hoping some building action. So we look forward to seeing you guys next Thursday. My boy Grant here will be back sitting right here next to me. We'll be sipping on some cold ones and
bearded.
And he'll be bearded again, so that'll be good. But we'll be
easy on that, friends.
We'll be sipping on some cold ones and bringing you some Star Trek episode 8. But from me, Tambourine Panda, and my buddy Grant, I always want to say thank you to him for making an appearance and taking his time every Thursday to come out. And,
my pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
And do this podcast with me.
Work on it and putting on the production.
Oh yes, easy stuff. So, if you guys have any feedback or constructive criticism that you'd like to give me specifically about the podcast, you can just DM me on my page, Tambourine Panda Gaming. If you guys want to catch all of the old reviews, if you want to see them in higher quality, check them out on Facebook. I should just put a playlist together and make it on Facebook. Or you can watch the episodes on my YouTube channel as well, too. Again, it's just the same name, Tambourine Panda.
There's different people out there in the YouTube universe, so it's good to have in both places, I feel.
Sure, it's good to get your stuff out there.
On YouTube, it's in the wild.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end up the
This is like a zoo.
The podcast here tonight. I'm not gonna send you guys off to anybody else. We're just gonna go ahead and cut it out. But I do appreciate everybody again for coming out this Thursday evening for another episode.
We appreciate ya.
We surely do. Another episode of the Picard. I almost said podcast, but Picard. Picardcast. Hey, what's up, D? He says I love Picard. That is one of the best shows doing the rounds at the moment. Awesome, man. I gotta say, a little disappointed with episode 7. Probably the worst one in the series. Austin, thank you for the like. D, thank you for the like on the stream. Before I
It's
guess
a level set though. It's the worst, but still not awful.
yeah, but it's still not awful. Like I said,
I've
it's
seen way worse episodes of Next Generation. So
it's got great moments. Like I said, when they're on the Penthe, just all the other stuff seems really rushed and kind of poorly explained right now. Now, if there's more explanation in the next episode, then I'll forgive some of the. We'll reevaluate, and I'll forgive some of the commentary from this episode. But right now, things seem a little bit confusing with the Rios, Rafi, Girardi trio, and kind of what's going on the Borg cube a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see what's happening. Hopefully next week we'll get some more explanation on it. Otherwise, guys, I want to thank you very much again. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. Big time stream tomorrow night. We'll be doing our supporter only giveaway. Remember, all the supporters will be put into that drawing. And
what are we giving away?
I'll tell you in just a second. And in order to get more entries into the raffle for a better chance to win, you can tune in tomorrow night for some rules and stipulations on how to get some more tickets into the raffle for yourself. So the prizes will be, third prize will be your choice of Tambourine Panda Gaming merchandise. Second prize will be a $50 gift card, and first prize will be anything gaming or streaming related up to $150 value. So if you're trying to get like a capture card for your stream setup, or you're trying to get a stick of RAM to boost the power on your PC, you need a webcam, microphone, whatever.
Trying to get yourself a PS4.
Just let me know what I can do for you. Up to $150 value. So if you want a $150 Visa gift card, I guess I'll give it to you. So you can spend it on what you want. Amazon, whatever. So make sure you guys tune in for that stream tomorrow night. We'll obviously be back tomorrow morning with another morning stream for you. I have to actually check my own schedule to see what I have put on there for the game for tomorrow. But tomorrow,
what will you be playing in the morning?
I don't know what I'll be playing tomorrow morning. Kayla, thank you for that last like. Austin says, "Oh yeah, Next Gen was kind of cringeworthy." There were a lot of episodes that were a little especially the first couple seasons.
Some of them were hot trash.
Some of them were really, really good though. So, but I agree, some of them were hot trash. So you got to keep that in mind. Like, this isn't your father's Next Generation. This is a different kind of a show. We've explained that through the rest of through all of our podcasts and stuff. So I feel like we don't need to rehash it. But
no.
But yeah, anyway, sorry I get a little wordsy, but we'll go ahead and finish up the podcast again. From my buddy here, Grant, and me, I want to thank you all for coming on out, and we will catch you on the flip side. Peace out, pandas.